Hey everyone, welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Lou. I hope you're having yourself a fantastic day. We're going to do something a little bit different on this channel. Today we're going to talk about my Commander deck collection. I have not done a ton of Magic the Gathering content on this channel, but we have done some box opening and some other things, and we may start moving a little bit around the table. I at one point sold most of my Magic collection in terms of the investing and collecting and set collecting stuff in order to fund most of my Flesh and Blood collection, but now I did keep all of my Commander decks and most of the cards in those decks because Commander is just a great, fun, casual way to play the game, and I always felt like I would still be doing that a little bit with some friends, even post-pandemic. So this is my Commander collection. I've got these organized in a couple different things. I look at Commander a little bit differently than a lot of people do. I don't have a what I would say like a competitive EDH deck. These are all more geared towards my play group, which tends to be relatively competitive. We tend to always be trying to win. Power level is never really a conversation. It's kind of like, we all know each other's decks. It kind of turns out to be like a 7 is kind of what everybody goes for. We don't do a lot of like one turn kills or anything like that. But that being said, I have like 4 little groups of decks that I think of, and then kind of a 5th idea here. And so let's start with my 5th idea. This was actually my first Commander deck. Please ignore the CFB logos. This is my first Commander deck, which is a Lands Matter deck. I bought a pre-con of this, and then I've just been updating it. And this is what I would say if you're getting in Commander, it's important to have one of these decks that's your pet deck. It's your deck that you use. It's your go-to deck. For me, this is the only deck I really upgrade. This is a Lord Windgrace deck. It's very, 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 very heavy focus on destroying lands. My lands. Destroying lands, bringing them back, and constantly getting landfall triggers. It's kind of one of these decks that's focused on creating energy in terms of being able to like kill everybody with like a torrent of hellfire or whatever. It kind of just builds and then it goes off and you win the game. It's one of those things that people don't tend to focus on that much, and then all of a sudden you kind of win. It's kind of fun to go off. My turns take forever though on this deck, which is one of the things that people don't like playing. Usually I'll only play this one time a night and then I'll play a much easier deck. We're not going to hop into the actual details of it. Maybe someday I'll do some deck techs, but this is more of just like a casual looking at my ideas of what Commander matters. So Lord Windgrace is a lot of fun, and this is the deck that I upgrade. This is the deck that when a new set comes out, this is really the only deck that I'm really looking to change up or move around. The rest of the decks are kind of just built, and now they're there, and I don't really edit them. Maybe occasionally I'll add a card or two, but for the most part, my Lord Windgrace Lands Matter deck is my pet deck. So now we have 3 categories of Commander decks that I think through. One is your like kind of fun, memey, brain dead decks that aren't really, this is just kind of the fun category. The second is I call these, the tribal decks, the things that it's fun to play, but it's also, they're tuned, right? They're more, obviously Slivers is a very strong, Vampires is very strong, Ninjutsu is not as strong, but Dino's super fun to play. These are just like, you want to play with dinosaurs, so you play with a dinosaur deck. And then these are value engine decks, and these are the ones that require some thought process to it. If I'm playing in a game, I'll typically start with either, if we're playing a Commander night, I'll typically start with either my Lands Matter deck or one of these decks, and see if I can pull out a win before I go to one of these like meme decks or kind of fun, just less, because your brain is just going at the first game. So I don't like to play some of these brain dead decks. Anyway, so let's start here. This is a budget Tessa deck. This is we did a really fun budget league where we just kind of all had, I think, a $50 budget, and Tessa Karloff, a really fun triggering ability. Anytime things die, it causes triggers to go off. Creatures have vigilance and lifelink, so it's a really fun deck to play. Generates some tokens. It's also just cheap, like it wasn't expensive, so we had like a budget, 25, I think it was $50 league. It was a lot of fun. So Tessa Karloff was my budget deck. Not a whole lot of spicy tech here. It's a pretty standard standard list if you were to look it up. But it's a lot of fun. It's definitely one of the best bets for a budget deck if you're looking for commander, because the commander itself is pretty cheap, but then a lot of those like white and black cards just aren't that expensive. So if you're looking for like a semi-powerful budget deck, a lot of fun. Another kind of just fun deck is this Angus McKenzie Pillow Fight and Group Hug deck. And this is Angus McKenzie is a reserved list card from Legends. And my goal in this deck was actually I wanted to invest in a Legends card, and I wanted to be able to play with it. So I made an Angus McKenzie. This deck has made more people rage quit than any other deck that I've played. I've had like, I've only had 2 people, right? But people get frustrated with this because you can basically fog on any turn for 3 resources. Creatures attack and block as normal, but no damage during combat damage. All attacking creatures are still tapped. And this is super fun to do, like if somebody is about to kill somebody, and this deck just keeps the game going. It just keeps the fun happening. There's really not terribly good win conditions. That's the big issue of this deck. The win conditions are definitely lacking, but you've got some of the big where is it? The like Blightsteel Colossus is in here. You've got some big, huge, some angels. There's a lot of big stuff in here that's a lot of fun, and you got to get those out. But the problem is if your opponents take care of those big, huge threats, the win condition kind of doesn't end up being super strong, and it turns into this kind of slog fest that's not super fun. But there's some other stuff in there that's good. It's just a matter of dealing with your win condition and making sure that you don't put your win condition out too early, because you've got to be able to win the game at some point. So Angus McKenzie, fun deck, a lot of interesting stuff. And then everyone's got to have like a Stompy Green. This is just I use a Freyalise Llanowar's Fury. This is just a stupid, like, brain dead Stompy Green deck. You're putting out mana, you're ramping, you're playing big creatures, and your goal is to just stomp all over everything. A lot of fun. Handsome Tokens. This is another one of those decks that I bought as a pre-con, and then I just kind of had been upgrading for a while, and it's kind of done upgrading. This is another just kind of stupid. It doesn't require much thought to play. You get the creature cards, you put them out, you attack, you create some tokens. It's a lot of fun, but it doesn't require a lot of brain power, which is that this whole side. The idea is not a whole lot of brain power, just for fun. It's 2 a.m. You're playing another game, you're tired. That's kind of what this is. These are Dino decks, Vampire decks, Slivers. Slivers are super fun because nobody ever wants to play Slivers. So anytime you play Slivers, everybody attacks you. So Sliver Overlord's my commander here. It's got, all the Sliver stuff in here. This is one of those decks that I just always wanted to have. And Slivers always gets people attacking you, so you have to really know that when you play this, you're either going to win the game or you're going to be the first dead. And if you're playing against my Sliver deck, or any Sliver deck really, you should just kill me. Like everyone should just team up, and you're kind of playing this idea of like Sliver Hive Lord, so cool. You're kind of playing this idea of attack the Sliver, and the Sliver player's trying to basically use their life to just survive and then be too big and kill everything. So Slivers are super fun. They're also incredibly overpowered. This is one of those decks where I ask the table, hey, is it okay if I play my Sliver deck? And they say yes, or they say no. And if they say yes, everybody kind of knows to attack me. Everybody kind of knows to go after me. And then it's just one of those challenges. Can you beat it, and can you play against it? And as a Sliver player, can I adapt it? Now, I have not built this stupidly powerful. Like, obviously, dual lands would make this more powerful than a lot of the pain lands that are in here. So it even increases that timer for me. There's a lot of pain lands. And those pain lands kind of slowed it down in the process, but I didn't want to play with dual lands. I don't do proxies in any of my decks, so I did not want to do dual lands for that. Ninjutsu just got a bunch of new spicy stuff, which is kind of fun. I have not play tested this, but Yric is a really cool card. And then obviously Ninjutsu. This deck tends to do, if I was going to play like a one-on-one commander game, this would be the deck that I would roll into from my collection, because it's just a lot of fun. One-on-one, it's definitely better than it just doesn't have that much power for a 4-player game. So that's kind of great. Dinosaurs, there's rumors that the next set is going to be, or one of the next sets that they announce is going to end up being dinosaurs for next year. Like a return to, what's it called? Ixalan, something like that. So I've got Gilsha. My friend drew a picture on that one. I'll take that out. Gilsha, I can't pronounce it. Sun's Avatar. These are those cold foil cards. I'm going to call them. They're etched. They look really cool. And so this is sweet. I mean, if you get to play this card, it's just OP, and then you're throwing out dinosaurs. This is one of those kind of stupid, big giant dinosaurs are attacking decks. So it's not a lot of like brain power. But that being said, like there is a lot of fun things you can do, and you're playing with dinosaurs, which are just cool. Like dinosaurs are just fun. So like this is what I love about Commander. You can play things like this that would never be competitive. And like in a actual format, dinosaurs they're just not going to be, you're never going to see like a modern dinos deck, but you can play with dinosaurs here. And like as kids, like I know my kids already like dinosaurs, so it'd be super fun to play dinosaurs with them as they grow up. That's definitely one of the reasons I have a dino deck. Vampires, Edgar Markov, obviously. This deck saw a huge spike and a lot of really cool stuff in the last set. And then we have your engine decks, right? The decks that are like you're generating things as a result of just the engines that you're building. Timna Ikra is definitely the only deck I have that really aims to do some shenanigans with comboing. And there's not a ton of combos. You can put a lot more combos in this deck. But Timna the Weaver and Ikra, I can't pronounce that. The Urshiper, I can't pronounce that either. But these decks are really gravitated towards like gaining life, which is a lot of fun. So you gain a lot of life in the early stages of the game, and then you use that life as a resource to do some really fun, cool things. One of the best, let me see if I can find it really quick. Necropotence. And there's a great artifact in here that basically you can basically pay all your life to, you don't ever have to draw cards, and you just kind of pay life to do things. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And that's a really fun idea, Bolas's Citadel. So these two things that mix together create this really fun effect if you have enough life. So you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play the spell. If you cast the spell this way, you pay life equal to its mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. So as long as you don't hit a land, you can just use your life and keep playing cards, right? Like as long as you don't hit a land. Well, with Necropotence, you can pay 1 life to set aside the top card of your library, and at the beginning of your discard phase, put that card in hand. So you just kind of put your land from the top of your deck away, and then you can just use your life as a resource to keep casting everything. And that kind of really adds up to things when you're gaining enough life here to really be able to do a lot of shenanigans. A lot of fun. This deck's pretty powerful. I would say this is one of those decks like the Sliver deck. If I play this, the table kind of wants to attack me a lot, which is fine. And like they know that, and that's what's fun. It's such a fun deck. This deck definitely though requires a lot of brain power, and that's why it's in this kind of side. There's a lot of brain power that's required for it, and so I don't like playing this deck as it gets later in the night, and as I've been playing a lot or whatever. I kind of just want to play this deck as the first or maybe second deck of the night if I'm going to play, because there's a lot of decision making that needs to happen in order to feel like it is going to be worth playing it, especially because people are going to target you. I have some really cool sleeves on that one. People definitely target you a lot in this deck, but it is one of those decks that's just super fun, definitely to play. Another kind of obvious, this one's like probably the quintessential like engine deck, the Yric entering the battlefield. This one's really fun. Obviously Yric, Death Touch, Lifelink, and then if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control, that ability triggers an additional time. So there's tons of ETB effects here, some landfall stuff, a lot of other just entering the battlefield effects, and you're basically just triggering them multiple times. This one takes a while to build up, and then you've kind of got it, and people have to start handling you and going after you. So a lot of fun. Definitely a deck that can be built very, very powerfully, and definitely a deck that a lot of people play. This is a very common one to see, and that's because it's pretty dang powerful. It's also just super fun. It's an elemental horror. It's a lot of fun to play. And then my favorite deck right now is my Gaia Cycling deck. This deck is, I just played this the other night. This deck is so much fun to play. Gaia Nest Warden. So this is all cycling, and every turn you can pay 0 instead of the cycling cost of the first card you cycle. And then whenever you draw a second card, you create a 2/2 red dinosaur cat. So basically, I have like a wall of dinosaur cats that are protecting my planeswalkers and protecting my life total. The dino cats just kind of are always out there. There's also a way to generate, what is the other token that you generate? There's also a way to generate drakes, so some flying tokens. And you're just kind of constantly blocking and protecting while then you are doing just crazy cycling effects. And this is another one of those kind of like crazy long turns. My favorite card to play is that for free, you can basically destroy the entire land of all the decks. And I actually did this past weekend. And it's fun. It's definitely a deck that might have some bad feels if you're playing in the wrong, this is it, degree of annihilation. So for free, because you cycle it for free once per turn, you can destroy all lands. So this is particularly fun on like turn 5 or 6 when everyone's kind of built up and they're getting ready to do something, and then you for free you cycle because of Gaia. If you have Gaia out, you for free cycle that and destroy all lands. And that obviously can be a feel bad, but it's a feel bad for the whole table. So it actually ends up being kind of funny. And it kind of restarts the table and allows you to have some fun with it. So definitely a deck. Again, there's a lot of things in here that might not be a great feeling for every group. And this is why it's so important in Commander to understand your play group before you come to a deck or before you come with a deck and understand what you are doing. So yeah, a lot of fun. Definitely a deck that I would recommend playing. You can also pick up the pre-con of this deck relatively, still relatively cheap. And that's important too, because it's basically just something that you add on to, and you don't have to have this super expensive deck with everything. And then the last one is the Elea Artifact deck. This was kind of a more just fun deck that I built. I really liked the Throne of Eldraine cards that came out with, I forget what that set thing was called, but Elea, super fun. You create flying death touch life. You're just always casting. The whole deck is basically artifacts and enchantments. There's very few creatures in here. One of the things I wanted to do with this, I have not finished it yet. I need to finish getting them. Is basically making this a like a swords deck where you're getting all the where are they? You're getting like Lucille's definitely one. It's like artifacts, just like weapons. Definitely like just equipping weapons to your flying, what are they called? Your flying fairies. Just equipping weapons to them and watching them attack. Where are they? I said I had a bunch of them in here, and now like I haven't even hit one of them. Like the swords. Oh, they're all there. That's what happened. All these swords, super fun to play with. And super fun to throw onto your flyers, especially because they just have such great effects. Definitely not the most powerful deck that I have, but one of the more fun ones and thematic ones in terms of you're creating really big, not really big, but these fairies that are holding swords. It's just fun. It's just a fun way to kill somebody in a game. So anyway, those are my Commander decks. This is my Commander collection, and I have not been editing a lot of the decks. One of the things that I particularly like to do is to build a deck and then just be kind of done with it. And this is, this is the Elea deck, and I'll just kind of gradually add all the swords that come out that I get. But this is the only deck that I am actively trying to change or add, and I don't worry about these decks being competitive in any meta or local thing. If a really cool card comes out and I pull it, then I'll put it in one of these decks that I like. But for the most part, I don't ever really edit these decks, and then that allows me just to pick them up and play them whenever I want and not have to worry about it. Anyway, let me know what you think. What commanders am I missing? What archetype of commander am I missing? What's something that would be fun to play? And what is your favorite commander? Let me know in the comment section. Hope you have yourself a fantastic day. Remember to be kind to the people around you, and we'll see you again next video.